Three, two, one. We should be live. What's up, Tailosive Tech? We're back with the Thursday stream. It's late in the evening, a little bit earlier today because I have an early start tomorrow. So this is kind of the excitement before the storm because tomorrow is a big day for me. Getting a new iPhone, hopefully a new Apple TV if they have them in stock, and the new Apple Watch, all on the same day. So a lot going on, and that's happening very early in the morning. So that is the reason we're live streaming 30 minutes earlier today, is that hopefully I can get to bed, get some rest so that I'm up for the drive, because I don't live near an Apple store. I have to drive an hour and a half to get to one. Anyway, how's everyone in the chat doing today? Yes, hello. Hello, everyone. Already here, yes. And don't complain about the late hours. This is for people in different countries. That's why I stream at 2 different times. People in America have the Tuesday stream. That one's done at a far more reasonable hour. Getting my watch tomorrow? Oh, cool. Me too. Great way to start my day. There you go. If you're from India, do you ask? No, we're not asking. Sorry, I got to preview these. Yay, I'm in Australia. Yes, that's who it's for. Let's see. There we go. Just cleaning up some of the chat. I'm glad you think this setup is more professional. That was kind of the idea behind it. Obviously, some people hate the useless switch, but there's not much I can do about it right now, unless I put my head in front of it, which is easier. You're holding the iPhone X? I don't believe you, because I don't think many people are right now. Should I upgrade to a new iPhone from iPhone 6? I personally think you should. I feel like iPhone 6 is getting a little bit more outdated. So as that's going to be facing iOS 11 and prolonged use throughout this year, it's going to end up being slower. A lot of the features are going to start to become more outdated. And you owe it to yourself to upgrade. I think the 8 is going to be definitely worth it. A lot of people just think that because it's an old design element, it's not worth it. I personally disagree. I think that when you add features to a traditional design, it's perfectly fine, because I don't think anything's wrong with the design of the iPhones in the past 4 years. Yes, it's not new because, you know, they've stayed consistent since the iPhone 6, but I think the features they have added, you would notice dramatic improvement in your everyday phone usage if you upgraded from the iPhone 6. Let's see. What's that? Sell my iPhone 7 Plus for the 8 Plus? I'm doing a similar thing. You're probably not going to break even. If you sell your 7 Plus, it's definitely not going to cover the price of the 8 Plus, but it definitely would help, which would be nice. Next idea for the MacBook Not Pro. I saw that comment, which is kind of interesting. If I had to say anything for the regular MacBook, it would just be to kind of give it some of those pro features. Maybe not the touch bar, because I know that's expensive and complicated to produce, and it adds typically $300 to the price point of a MacBook. So maybe not a touch bar, but I think if they could in some way incorporate a fingerprint reader, which I know they probably shouldn't now that the iPhone X's out and it's removing stuff. But as long as Touch ID works on Macs as it does now, and they don't really have a need to remove it because there's plenty of real estate to work with here on the MacBook, a fingerprint reader would be nice. Like, I used to do the Apple Watch unlock your MacBook trick, but the problem is you have to have 2-factor authentication enabled to do that, which is very complicated, and it asks for permission a lot of the time. Like when you sign into iCloud, it wants you to enter numbers all the time. So I don't like having 2-factor authentication on, and I've found personally in experience that unlocking the MacBook with the fingerprint reader, even though usually my fingers don't work, the MacBook can handle mine for some reason. It's faster than just the casual having the watch unlock the MacBook. For some reason, I couldn't get that to be faster. It usually takes a little while to unlock. Anyway, we got our first super chat of the evening from Zach Tech Review. Says, picking up my first Apple product tomorrow, an iPhone 8 Plus in space gray. Am I one of you now? Okay, you're getting closer. But again, the shape is about the ecosystem. But anyway, still, I'm just joking. Very happy for you. I hope you enjoy it. I definitely think that, I definitely feel like I've been predicting in a lot of my earlier videos, the 8 and 8 Plus are probably going to be the best overlooked phones of the year. Everyone talks about the V30. I still get comments about that every day. I don't care that much. It's an Android phone. I get questions about LG G6. People focus on the Galaxy S8 and the Pixel 2. I feel like when Apple announced all these iPhones, and I did anticipate this would happen, people would only care about the iPhone 10. And it's showing in the numbers in the pre-orders and the demand that many Apple users are waiting to upgrade their phone because they want that 10. They want that edge-to-edge display. They want Face ID. So as much as you guys may complain about the removal of Touch ID, you may complain about the size of the notch, you may complain about the price, as I was anticipating, that doesn't affect demand because Apple users, most of them are not techie people on YouTube. Most of them are people just working, living out their lives, and they want a phone that works, so they go with iPhone. And those people, when they see something they want, they're going to pay for it. And that's why I think the iPhone 10 is actually going to be much, much higher in demand than the 8, even though it costs more money. Doesn't matter. Money has never stood in the way of Apple's fans' happiness. Anyway, Trevor says, should I get Apple Care Plus with my Series 3 watch? I don't get Apple Care, but I consider myself a very, respectful person to my tech. I very rarely, oh, is it clipping and getting in a sec? I'm sorry. There's not a terrible amount I can do about it. I'll turn it down a little bit. Hopefully that helps. I'm sorry if it's out of sync. Is it out of sync for everyone? Or is it just a couple people? I want to get that figured out. Do you do these live videos a lot more often nowadays for the donations? No, I've been doing 2 live streams a week for months and months. That hasn't changed. But the donations are nice. That, of course, helps. No. Some people are saying no. Turn the mic on. People are saying, no, it's fine. It's totally okay. It's fine. It's in sync. Okay. It's in sync for me. Okay, most people are saying it's in sync, so if you have a problem, sadly, one thing we've discovered with live streaming is that YouTube, even when your internet is fine, even when your software is fine, YouTube themselves can make things go out of sync, and it is fixable by refreshing the page. So sadly, not much I can do about that. Sorry if it's out of sync for you. Anyway, I don't get Apple Care with my products because I'm fairly, careful with them. I go caseless, my phone doesn't have a case on it. I've bought a lot of cases and used some, but I still prefer the look of a regular iPhone with no case on it. Typically works fine for me, but I have a jet black iPhone, mind you, so it's very scuff heavy. But I just don't drop my phone. I don't drop my phone, and personally, in terms of a watch, I feel like that's attached to your wrist. It's very rare on occasion that you'd ever drop it. At that one time that for whatever reason you're taking off your watch, and while taking off your watch you lose control of it and drop it. It happens. I'm not saying it never happens. That happened to my girlfriend. She dropped hers. It still worked afterwards. But yeah, if you figure, look at the history of products you've owned. Do you have a history of being kind of clumsy with your expensive tech? Which, again, there's nothing wrong with that. It happens. Some people are more clumsy than others, but I just consider myself to not be that clumsy with my tech. I don't drop things. I don't throw things and chuck things. So that's what I don't get Apple Care. I just say I'm a easygoing guy with my tech. I treat it respectfully. I don't drop it. So that's why I wouldn't get it personally, especially for a watch. That's not really something that you pull out of your pocket. It's on your wrist. So dropping it very rarely happens. So I personally wouldn't recommend it unless you have a history of kind of being sloppy with your tech and throwing it around. It happens. Cizalo also donated, says, if Apple puts Face ID on the next generative Macs, everyone will complain that it's copying Windows Hello. Well, sure. Apple doesn't care. I mean, Apple cares about making the better product, and I personally think Face ID would work better than Windows Hello because Windows Hello is just an infrared scanner, whereas Face ID is using multiple sensors to create a 3D scan, which means that you wouldn't have to look at... Well, Windows Hello does work very well. I've used it on the Surface Pro. It turns on very quickly. Microsoft is far more known for sharing user data and doing things really without your permission, the constant updates. And when I got my Surface Pro, I remember one of the creepy things about it was that it didn't ask me if I wanted to set up Windows Hello. As soon as I turned on my Surface Pro, infrared sensor turns on, reads your face, says, got your face, okay, we're good now. Next part of the process. It didn't say, set up. It just did it instantly. And I was kind of like, ooh. That's a little messy. I was like, that's not something Apple would do. I feel like they would ask consent of the user before setting it up that quickly. Obviously, I haven't set up iPhone 10. Um, Guys, I read all the super chats. I just don't want to spend 2 minutes on a single super chat. You guys are donating money. I want to dive into these questions because you're literally paying me, which is very, very generous. But I'm going to get into them. Don't worry. I want to dive into each super chat individually. I'm not missing them. I've still got the messages saved here. Don't worry. YouTube, one thing they do nice is have their own super chat window, so there's no other chat in there. So I have the regular chat on one side of my computer, regular super chat on the other. I'm going to go back into them. Give me a second. Okay. So I think Face ID would be better than Windows Hello on the Mac, but ultimately, whether or not people accuse it of copying, who cares? Doesn't make a difference to Apple. Okay. So answering Zach Tech Reviews, I need to move to Final Cut Pro 10. iMac or MacBook Pro? What would you choose? Obviously, it's apples and oranges. They're two very different things, and they're made for very different purposes. An iMac is going to get you better specs at a better price, where a MacBook is more, not as good as specs at a much higher price, but of course it's portable. So it's just a matter of, do you move around a lot? Do you anticipate to edit with Final Cut at a college or at an office or at a coffee shop? Do you like to move around with your tech? That's personally why I was okay with spending so much money on my MacBook Pro. Was I had to move around. Like, before I moved into this office, I didn't have Wi-Fi. I had to upload things at my friend's house all the time. And I was stuck at home all the time back when I worked at the Mandarin Ranch. I didn't interact with many people, so I kind of wanted to be in social atmospheres. So I would like to go to coffee shops or restaurants and just edit there, just to be around other people, to have change in scenery, opposed to that boring green-walled attic. That got boring a lot. So I was really happy to get out of there as much as I could. So that's why I got the MacBook. Now I have a dedicated office. Now I have good Wi-Fi that's, stationary, obviously. So that's why I'm more okay with the idea of buying a not a maxed out, but a very high-end desktop. That way I have something with more storage, with more speed. So when I edit, I'm not limited to just the MacBook, which can only do so much. It can do a lot. The tech videos, the vlogs, the stuff like that, that's fine. But when I want to start editing higher res content, as next year I'm hoping to move into 4K at 60 ground, which takes a lot more processing power. It slows you way down when you're exporting. I want to have a computer that can handle all that. So it's depends on your needs. That popular word in the tech industry, depends. Okay, Richard Hardesty says, should I upgrade to a Series 3 GPS only from Series 2? Also, when is your set date for Apple TV? Mine isn't until October 6th to October 13th. Yeah, my delivery was, I think, a week from tomorrow. So if I get it shipped to me, not very fast. It's going to take a week from after I get my watch and phone. But what I'm predicting, because they kind of ship to customers and Apple stores at the same time, like they don't know exactly their inventory levels until Apple ships it to them, I'm anticipating that when I go to pick up my Apple Watch and iPhone tomorrow, they will also have 4K Apple TVs in stock, but you couldn't order them for pickup. That's still not an option on the Apple Store. But I think it will be enabled as an option tomorrow. And in that case, where it's just a walk-in, first come, first serve bias. That's how the Series 2 was last year. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So I'm just hoping, hopefully one's in there. And if I can get one in there on that day, I will. And I will just cancel the one I had shipping to me. So that was my answer to that. And your other question, should I upgrade to the Series 3 GPS only? What do you get, though? From a Series 2 to Series 3 GPS only, you're not getting cellular. So it's like faster processor, W2 chip. I guess the promise that it'll last longer. If there's really not much wrong with your Series 2, I can't see the point in it. It design-wise looks identical. Still waterproof. Processor's a little bit faster, but it's a watch. The Series 2 is really fast and works great. watchOS 4 has been great. It's been much more stable. Siri understands me a lot better. Dictation gets a lot better. It's been working great. Battery life's been fine. And that's all running on my Series 2, which I've realized today's my last day with my Series 2, as well as my iPhone 7. So I really can't justify upgrading from a Series 2 to a Series 3 GPS only. I can't see what you're getting out of that. Like buying a whole new watch just for a new processor and W2 chip and the air power support. And there was an article saying that selective Qi chargers would actually charge your Apple Watch Series 3, which I thought was kind of cool. So if you wanted to have a wireless charging plate that charges your iPhone 8 and your Series 3, you can do that. But again, not on all of them, just on some of them. So I'm curious to try that out because I now have two wireless chargers in my office ready for my iPhone 8, the portless switch. So I can't really justify that. I'm gonna say no, that's not worth it. Just keep your Series 2. If you're interested in getting the cellular version of the Series 3, of course. I think that adds a whole bunch of functionality to your watch. Lucas Frey says, my theory is that Apple produced a ton of 8s to focus more on the resources on producing the 10, explaining the high stock of 8s. I don't think they had a high stock of 8s. I think they had a normal stock of 8s. But there's just not that much demand for it. I'm anticipating that most of Apple's fans, as history has shown us, when they see a phone or an accessory they want, they don't care how much it is. They're willing to pay for it. Like, it was a big deal when the iPhone 5S and 5C came out. If you didn't remember, they came out at the same time. For the first time, Apple was intentionally not making, like last year's smartphone cheaper. They made a brand new iPhone that was half the price of the flagship. And originally when that came out, everyone's like, this is great. iPhones are getting cheaper. Apple's making products actually affordable now. They're catering to a new market. Guess what happened? 75% of the sales that year were all the 5S, and only 25% were of the 5C. Even though that 5C was cheaper, because it wasn't as good as the 5S, Apple users didn't care. They're willing to pay top dollar. They wanted to pay for that extra storage, that better camera, that Touch ID. I think we're experiencing the same thing here. Apple has experienced also, in another example, the Plus models of iPhones, while costing more money, are now more popular than the regular models. There are more people who bought the iPhone 7 Plus than the regular 7. So I don't find it surprising at all that when it comes to the iPhone 10, very expensive, compared to the iPhone 8, which is good but definitely cheaper, Apple fans are rich, they have a lot of money, they know what they want. When they see it, they're going to buy the 10. Even though it costs more money, it'll be higher in demand, they're going to have a harder time getting for it. They're not interested in the 8 because they want that 10. So that's what I'm predicting. But maybe you're right. Maybe they produced a ton of 8s to focus more on the resources. But I feel like we would have gotten more leaks of that. There were still people saying there's going to be more color options for the 8, like a rose gold or whatever, and that didn't happen. I think the fact that there were only 3 color options for the 8 kind of shows that resources weren't extremely plentiful. They were there, but I just think demand for the 8's not that high. Okay, Jason donated and says, do you notice any performance issues on your iPhone 7? After the iOS 11 update, mine is laggy. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I also found out that maybe a problem with people who didn't own the beta and just went from the immediate regular version to the public version. To the immediate, like, iOS 10 to iOS 11. I heard a couple people saying there are bugs. But first of all, that happens every year. That's not a new thing. In fact, iOS 11, it's for the most part, it's being a little laggy. That's not as bad as some of the past initial updates. Like one of the first iOS 9 or iOS 10 upgrades, I think, that came out to the public, literally shut off people's cellular option. Like they couldn't use LTE. Like that's a big problem. Apple had to patch it very quickly. For me, no, though. My iPad and iPhone are both running the Gold Master Edition of iOS 11, and they've been running iOS 11 for the past 3 months. So first of all, I'm used to it, and no, I haven't noticed any lag. Okay, I think I'm caught up on these Super Chats. Great. For Spark asking what happened to Hello World. For those who don't know, I make videos that are not related to tech on Tailosive Talks, and Hello World is kind of filmed and shot like tech videos, but for now, because we were focused on moving into the new office and focused on covering all the new iPhone hype that's been going on for the past couple weeks, we've been very busy with that and had very little time for other things, so I haven't completely finished where we're going to film Hello World in the office yet, but I'm not saying it's canceled. It's definitely coming back. Hello World has on seasons and off seasons. If you watch them, you would know that. Why does Apple only make one version of the stainless steel Apple Watch? Is that true? I thought they made a space black version and a jet black and a stainless steel version. Did they not? Maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. Probably because of, why wouldn't they? Probably because of demand or manufacturing problems. But I feel like there's two versions. And yeah, for those who don't know, the Apple Watch Series 2 has been discontinued from Apple, but it's really just been replaced by the regular Series 3. They could have said that the Series 2 now has the W2 chip and a better processor, but that would have been confusing for people when they want to know, like, does my Series 2 wirelessly charge? It would have been harder to say, well, the 2017 Series 2 does with the Qi chargers. So instead, they just said Series 3 is the new one. Series 3 with or without cellular, along with the Series 1. I get it's confusing, but I guess the Series 3 thing was the best thing they could do. So, anywho. Do you like the red dot on the Series? Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying they don't like it, which I can kind of understand. It's kind of different, the idea of having a same color feature across all colors of a product. I'm trying to think of a different Apple product that does that, like where all of that product has the same color feature, and it's not like a black or a white feature. It's not like saying like all lenses on the iPhone are black. Or like most bezels are white. Like literally like a color of the rainbow, red, is on every single cellular watch. 5C. Well, they had different colors, but I'm saying that the cellular watch has the same red dot on all of them, whether it's silver or space gray. But I know that's different. At the same time, though, I kind of like it. Like, it looks nice. It's very bizarre, and they really haven't done that with any other product before, but I have to admit, I like that it's kind of a status symbol. I like that it's kind of a very easy and recognizable way to determine if someone has cellular on their watch. You could be like, they have the red dot. Oh, they do. Unless they ordered from watchdots.com and put a sticker on there. But I'm guessing that there might be a minute difference in color or build quality when you use a sticker. I don't know. How are you planning to get the iPhone 10 on launch, since we know it'll be heavily delayed? Same way I got my iPhone 8. That worked out pretty well, even though I know demand won't be as high. I think that the people who stay up at midnight and are refreshing the Apple Store page as fast as possible, like I did, those people who have it like reserved, in their favorites as well, and tap as fast as they can to buy it and purchase it and schedule a pickup time, they're probably going to get it on November 3rd. It's not going to be a large number, but some people are. I feel like if they're announcing when pre-orders start and when deliveries start, it means that it is in production. They are making the iPhone 10. It's just a very slow production process, and that's why we're hearing about how there's going to be all these delays and stuff. So I plan on doing just that. I don't think there's a better way to do it. I've analyzed other options, and I don't think there's a faster way to get it, but I'm just going to tap like the wind, and luckily on that pre-order day, there will be nothing else to pre-order, whereas on the last one, I had to pre-order the Apple TV, the Apple Watch, and the iPhone all simultaneously, so there was a lot of pressure there. Whereas this is just one. It's going to be a big live stream leading up to that 1 30-second moment of me just, gotta get it, and then hopefully I get it. And if something goes wrong, just know that I tried my best. Okay, Corey Smith donated, says, I reserved the red hydrogen since I like cinematography, but I've always been an Apple person. Everything from the AirPods, Apple Watch, MacBook Pro, etc. Should I keep my iPhone and carry two phones? Some people are okay with carrying two phones. Every once in a while I get comments from people that say, I have the S8 and the iPhone 7. I use both. It's like, why do you need to review then? Why do you need a comparison of the two? If you have both, it's just use the best part of both. So you can do that, and I guess this isn't that exact situation, but I hope the red hydrogen works for you. Like, honestly, I don't wish bad upon it. It's just, personally, as a consumer, I found it very shocking that they were okay with showing the back of a phone, like not a turnaround, not a 360 of it, not showing the whole thing. They just said, here is what the back of it looks like, and personally, I wasn't impressed. And then say there's this holographic feature, which is really cool. They're not going to show you how it works or what it does. They're just saying it's cool. They give you a couple of specs, and then start asking for your money. Like, I can't think of other companies that do that. Apple asks for your money, and they ask for a lot of your money, but they usually show you what you're buying first. I'd like to know a lot about the product I'm spending a lot on. And the problem I have with the red hydrogen is there's so much promise. And this is the first smartphone they've made. And as we've seen with, the Essential phone, they've showed us that, a startup and a company that's never made a smartphone before usually runs into a few problems. And I feel like the red phone doesn't really have design going for it. The Essential phone was really pretty, and that's why people were impressed with it. But then, of course, when the official launch happened, we found out that the camera's really laggy, the software is not that good, the hardware-software optimization isn't that good. So it's... like I said, I really hope it works for you. But based on the patents and the leaks that we're getting about what it does, I don't understand why you would want a smartphone to be part of your professional digital cinematography. Like, if I'm filming a movie or something and I'm attaching giant modules and cameras to my red hydrogen, like when I get a text, what do? Like, I'm in the middle of filming. Like, what I love about the Apple Watch is that I could be in the middle of filming a project and be in the middle of doing something big, and if someone texts me, it can be silent, and I can just check it. Whereas, since this red hydrogen is running Android, you have to use some kind of Android Wear, which has proven by the numbers not to be that popular for good reason. It's not that great. So, yeah, I personally can't say I recommend the hydrogen, but it's because they're not showing us enough. They gave prototypes to Marquez, and they didn't let us see what the holographic technology is. Marquez just filmed his reaction to it. So I can't justify that. I can't say it's worth it. There's not enough information, simply. And the Apple ecosystem is just going to be so much more convenient because you have so many pieces of tech working together. Anyway, I hope you got some usefulness out of that. I hope the reservation goes well for you. Best of luck. But again, I can't recommend it. Okay, Graham Bone. Wow, $20. Thank you. Big donation. Says, how do you feel about the new music system on watchOS 4? Love your channel. Keep up the good work. Very good question, because a lot of people are split on this, and I'm also kind of split on this. I don't know if I like it or not. So what they changed on watchOS 4 is now the music app doesn't just show all of the music you have on your phone. And when you hit play on whatever music, it'll start playing out of your phone. Now you download and choose what music is actually on the watch itself. Just whatever is downloaded to the watch itself, and then you can just connect AirPods or Beats X or whatever wireless headphones you have directly to the watch and play music right off of the watch instead of your phone. It's bypassing your iPhone now, because I think Apple noticed that the combination of AirPods and Apple Watch go really well together, and that works out very nicely. So that's why people... I think that's why they made that switch. But again, a lot of people were upset that the music app no longer controls the music on the phone. The only way to do that now is to just tell your watch, activate Siri and say, play this. And then, of course, it'll go on your phone. So that option is still there. And on watchOS 4, they kind of removed the Now Playing app. It's kind of hard to get to Now Playing. But Now Playing will appear when you start playing music on your phone. And then it'll show up. Which I was a little bit not okay with at first, because I was like, I want to see my watch face. I don't want it to change every time I start playing music. But I started realizing, as I wanted things to pause and as I wanted to skip certain things, it kind of made more sense to have the Now Playing tab come up more often. But it gave me an idea. Maybe in watchOS 5, which I barely can think of any ideas for, because watchOS 4 basically did exactly what I wanted to. Maybe in watchOS 5, we could have a watch face that is the Now Playing watch face. So it tells you the time, but it also has the Now Playing, play, pause, skip in the volume built into the watch face itself. That way you could have Now Playing and the watch face go hand in hand. Anyway, hope that answered your question. And thank you for your donation. Yes, Scott, I've seen the Snazzy Lambs rant on the iPhone 10. I've seen that. I've seen plenty of rants on Apple products before. And most of the things about it is just, it's kind of hard for me to dive in and be like, Snazzy Labs was so wrong in his rant, because, like, you can't do that because part of their argument makes sense, when they compare it, like, you don't have Touch ID or Samsung made the display or whatever. It's like, yeah, they did. It's not the kind of video I want to make a response video to. If anything, I would love to just have a sit-down conversation with something about that. And I would like to try to explain to them, like, okay, Samsung made the display. That doesn't make a difference who made the display. It's about what's on the screen. Like the Note 8, I think, has a far superior display than the iPhone 10 because it's larger and the nits are brighter and the colors are deeper. But again, I don't buy my phone based upon how bright it is. I buy it based upon what's on the screen. And Android, especially Samsung's skin on Android, is a mess. Whereas iOS is super clean, and it looks like with the iPhone 10, the removal of the home button was really thought out. I'm really confused as to how it's going to work and how that's going to be a learning curve, but I feel like thought went into it, whereas on Samsung phones, it's usually like, well, we remove the buttons, so just put on-screen buttons. There, Android's done it before. Cizalo donated, says, what is that dongle you have connected to your Mac? Well, for those who don't know, if you watch Tailosive Talks, you would have seen me unbox this, but it's from a company called Quack. They actually sent this to me to review, and it's by far the best dongle I've ever owned for MacBooks. It's USB-C, and it has almost everything on it you might ever need. It's not that cheap, but again, I got it for free, so whatever. But I do recommend it to people. I think it's $50 most of the time. Sometimes it's $70, depending on the color you get. But it's USB-C to 3 USB 3.0 ports, and sadly, because there's really not a place you can find micro USB to USB-C. Believe me, I've searched. Can't really find them anywhere. And also, when I want to... And both of these are micro USB to USB. I can't find any micro USB cables to USB-C. And if they are, they're very off-brand and not highly reviewed. So that's why I keep my micro USB to USB cables, so the dongle helps. On the back, it has 10 gigabit, not 10 gigabit, but a gigabit Ethernet. So if you want a direct line in for internet, you can do that. It also, next to Ethernet, has power. So you can plug in your MacBook USB-C cable directly in it. It'll keep charging it while using the dongle. It also has a HDMI, which is 4K ready, next to the 3 USB ports. And then on the back here, it has an SD card slot and a micro SD card slot. Very compact. It even came with a little traveling case. Works great for me. They sent me the gold one because that's the one that was available, but they make them in all colors that the MacBooks come in. And it kind of gives back all the ports that people usually want, and it's very compact, so you can just kind of pack it with you wherever you go. It's very easy. That's what I like about it. Quack. 32 gigabytes is not too small for most people. It is actually more than what they would use. Again, changes from person to person. Depends on how much you film, how much you take your pictures. Oh, Video Drone in Tech says, okay, I don't know what that means. Thank you for your donation, but I'm not going to try to read that. It's gibberish. Is there going to be an October event, do you think? Oh, Thomas, that's a good question, and I've been kind of wondering this. This might be one of those times I actually ask the chat a question instead of you asking me one. Why would there be a keynote in winter, like in November, December, October? What's there to talk about, to be honest? If there is, it's going to be very boring. Like, first thing was people were like, sorry, there was a donation. First people were like, well, the iMac Pro's coming in December, or the HomePod's coming in December. It's like, yeah, but within the WWDC, they talked all about the iMac Pro. They talked about the specs in it, and they even announced the price. Usually when you're unveiling a product that early, you don't announce the price. You just want to generate hype, like the Apple Watch. When they first unveiled it, didn't tell anyone what the battery life was or what the price was. We found that all out later. But when it comes to this year, we know about the price. We know about the internal specs of the iMac Pro. We know about the HomePod. We know about how much it costs. What's the point of having another keynote? Just to say, iPhone 10 is now available. The HomePod is now available. The iMac Pro is now available. We've already had the iPad Pro refresh. So, some of the later keynotes in the year sometimes are about the iPad Pro, like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro was introduced in the winter of 2015. We've got new iPad Pros. They're not going to update those. They could announce the new wireless charging AirPods. But again, they kind of already unveiled that. So if there is going to be a keynote later, it's going to be kind of boring. There's really not that much to announce. The Apple Watch and the iPhone have been refreshed. The iPads have been refreshed. The MacBook's got a refresh at Worldwide Developers Conference. Mac Mini, HomePod, iMac Pro, iPad Mini. No, I feel like if they were going to update the iPad Mini, they would have done it with the rest of the iPads. It'd be cool if they did, but again, I don't think there's much to talk about with the HomePod and the iMac Pro because they already talked about all of that. They told us the prices. They told us how they're made. They told us what they do. They're basically waiting for a website refresh to say, available now. Like, not that much. Anyway, there's super chats. Taylor, a book, I Am Me, I Am Free, helped my skin rust disappear. Your body's many cries for water should seal the deal. Really recommend them. Thanks for the channel and good luck. Okay, thank you for your recommendation. I'll check those out. Okay, Obi donated and says, why do YouTubers keep using annoying red arrows and circles at their thumbnails? They wouldn't use them if they didn't work. It's clickbait. It's very simple clickbait. When you have circle something in red or point an arrow at something, it attracts people's attention. It makes them look closer, and then they click on the video. Sadly, people can be stupid, and it actually works. So that's the reason they keep doing it. They wouldn't do it if it worked. If it didn't work. They wouldn't do it if it didn't work. Sorry. Yeah, I've seen the iPhone 10 notch simulators. It's hilarious. Great. Wonderful. The notch, it's so ugly you can put it on anything. Shut up. It'll be normal. The notch is going to blend into the background, and then in a couple of years they'll remove that. Connor, thank you for your donation. Says, which cell carrier do you use and why? Okay, so first of all, I just have to say right off the bat, there are no good internet companies. None. Okay, they're either really fast and not available to anyone, unlimited plans with no restrictions but with no coverage, tons of coverage but with total backstabbing plans. So personally, I choose Verizon, but that's because of its coverage. I prefer having not unlimited but everywhere opposed to unlimited data but nowhere. And in the place I live, T-Mobile and Sprint are not very covered at all. You don't get much coverage here for that at all because I live in a much more rural area. In the cities, I can get it. Sprint, T-Mobile, they could be faster in cities. Some people may like them and they're cheaper and stuff. But here, anyways, not really an option. And AT&T and Verizon are kind of the big giants that everyone uses. You kind of fall on either side. AT&T, we've just noticed to not be as fast or have as much coverage as Verizon, and I think the ads for Verizon speak for themselves. They have the most 4G LTE coverage. And I was really excited to get Verizon Unlimited, which I did, and that's what ran this YouTube channel for 3 months. But now, finally, that's come to a halt. Luckily, I moved out right when I should have into this office with good Wi-Fi. And now when you go over 15 gigabytes on your hotspot, which isn't that much, especially if you're live streaming and uploading like I am, they down throttle your hotspot to 600 kilobits a second. It's a joke. You can't do anything with that. You can barely watch YouTube videos. So they changed that on us. After they said it was unlimited, then they started putting limits on it and saying, well, after 15 gigs, you get down throttled or on your hotspot. And after 20 gigs, you get down prioritized on your phone. So Verizon sucks in that regard. But I'm just saying, I don't think there's a better carrier out there. There may be someone who doesn't down throttle as much, but they likely don't have as good as coverage. And I'm going to take the better coverage. They're also not cheap. Verizon is very, very expensive. And I recommend if anyone wants to be on Verizon, you should do it in a group. Don't do it by yourself. The best way to do Verizon is if you're a family plan or a friend's plan where everyone is paying their own share or whatever. It's cheaper that way. So that's why I use Verizon. Best coverage for my area. And again, that can change depending on where you live. What do you expect to see for iPhone next year? My prediction, we could get a new SE, which is essentially the iPhone 9, as well as a second-gen iPhone 10 and no 9 Plus. I kind of see what you're getting at, but I would boil it down to having weird names like that. I would just say it's going to be iPhone and iPhone Plus. And the iPhone Plus and iPhone are just going to look like the iPhone 10, except slightly smaller and slightly bigger. That's what the leaks are confirming. Apple is already ordering production of displays for next year that Samsung, again, is going to create. There's going to be a 5.2-inch display and a 6.4-inch display. Maybe even 6.5. We don't know exactly because it's a long time away. But honestly, I just feel like the upgrade for the iPhone next year is definitely not going to be as exciting as it was this year. The iPhone 10, trying to think of a more massive iPhone upgrade, and I really can't think of one. There's been size increases, there's been display resolution increases, there's been more cameras, but overall, I feel like the switch that a lot of people are going to be making from the iPhone 7 or the 6S, switching to the 10 is quite a massive upgrade. Probably one of the biggest changes we've ever seen to the iPhone. So don't expect that to happen every single year. I think that next year's iPhones are just going to be small and big versions of what we already have. That's all I'm predicting. Maybe even, will they both have dual cameras? That'd be kind of cool. Because I just realized, like, usually the cheaper iPhone doesn't have the dual camera. Giving us back Touch ID. Apple's not one for bringing back things after they've removed them. Just historically, if they remove something, they typically keep it removed in favor of a better thing. I feel like if Apple believed that Touch ID should still be an option, they would have put it somewhere, and they didn't, which I think was just them betting, first of all, that they couldn't implement Touch ID, but on top of that, they wanted to say, Face ID is better, you will get used to that, and that will be the new standard. So I'm anticipating that there won't be a return of Touch ID. I know some people think there will be, I don't. Of course, we could be wrong. And besides, do we really need to talk about the 2018 iPhone? I mean, I don't even have my hands on the iPhone 8 yet, which is the iPhone no one cares about. They brought back right click. That's a bit more minor than a simple Touch ID sensor. You know, that's not that big. Thoughts on fast charging on the iPhone? You know, people really get upset about that. It's kind of like a juxtaposition thing where people who look at the iPhones get mad about not having fast charging. I look at the Pixel and get mad about not including headphones. You know, I complain about that because I'm like, you're paying that much, you should get a pair of headphones with your product, especially if you're including a headphone jack. Whereas fast charging, I feel like is kind of a handy feature, but I kind of agree with Apple on saying that it's nice, but it's not really required. I don't think that's something like every smartphone this year must come with fast charging, because personally, I'm going to be doing the portless challenge tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, I'm all ready for it. I've got multiple wireless chargers. I've got a Bluetooth FM transmitter in my car, so I don't need to plug my phone into anything when I want to play music in my car. That works really well. That might get its own video. I love that thing. You just get in your car, turn it on, and it starts playing music. You don't have to plug in anything. I love that. I'm going to try to never plug anything into my iPhone, ever. It's going to wirelessly charge only, and Bluetooth headphones, Bluetooth car, everything's wireless. So fast charging, as in plugging in a MacBook brick with a iPhone, is like, Honestly, like, I heard, what was it, that fast charging is going to be something like 50% charge in 30 minutes? All of my iPhone chargers are iPad bricks. They're, 10 to 12 watts. So I don't use 5-watt bricks that the iPhones come with because I've had so many iPads and I've had so many chargers. I'm just used to having the 10-watt bricks. Those charge fast. I mean, I'm sure they probably don't charge as fast as the 50% in 30 minutes, but really fast enough for me because I don't charge my phone constantly throughout the day. Like I've said before, I'd much rather have a phone with a longer battery so I don't have to plug it in, opposed to having fast charging, because I feel like I'd rather just not have to plug it in. And most of the time, when I do charge my phone, it's right before I go to sleep. So if it finishes in an hour or 5 hours, it doesn't matter because I'll be asleep anyway. So there's going to be a wireless charging pad right next to me in bed where I'll put my phone, and it'll charge there wirelessly. I might use the other wireless charger on my desk for when I'm texting or browsing stuff on my desk and I want to be charging. I might get another one and try to be creative with it and put it in the car somewhere so I could cradle my phone somewhere. It'll charge while I'm on the road. But fast charging, not a big deal for me. It's just like, it's not, I'm not always in a hurry, and my phone battery isn't bad enough to where fast charging would be convenient. Including headphones, though, that's kind of a big deal. It's like that's how you listen to your phone. It's how you listen to music. I think that's important. Apple must be kidding. They include quick charge in their phones, but not the chargers, and you have to pay $70 for it? Well, it's like I just said, it's not something everyone needs. And again, the profit margin on the iPhone 10 is not that high, as in if they were to include fast charging with all their iPhones, probably would have made the price higher. And again, I don't think it's something everyone needs. Most people aren't going to notice that. And the other thing, the difference between including fast charging with your Android phones, most people who own an Apple product, they own more than one. So for instance, when people say, like, you have to pay $70 to get the charge brick and the USB-C to Lightning cable, it's like, most people likely have that already. I know I do. I've got a MacBook charge brick. I've got a USB-C to Lightning cable. So I could do fast charging already, but I'm choosing not to because I'm not going to plug anything into it. Obviously, I'm not going to throw out my Lightning cables because I still have an iPad Pro. So there's, I can't switch to wireless with that. Like, to connect the Apple Pencil, I have to use the port. Either way. iFudge says, are you planning on getting the silver iPhone 10? No. The silver iPhone 10 I get a lot of people liked, but I kind of don't like that it's a paradox in itself. Like, I don't want white bezels on a phone because I think that looks ugly, but I also don't like that the back is white and the front has black bezels. It's like they're not matching in that regard, and then the stainless steel bracket is chrome. So in that regard, I feel like it's not as seamless. It's like white on the front white on the back and black on the front, which doesn't. It's not seamless on either side. I just think the space gray one looks cleaner. That's really the only reason. It's like, it goes with my ecosystem better. I'm getting a space gray watch. I have a space gray MacBook. I have a space gray iPad Pro. Your Instagram photos have to look good, dang it. That's the best way to make them look good, is everything to match. Why do you not like TechSmart? I like his videos. I don't hate him. There's not very many YouTubers out there I hate. Definitely no tech YouTubers I hate. All I could say is, whenever I watched one of his videos, I didn't find it very entertaining. I was just like, this is kind of dumb. Like, he was like, red iPhone 7, and then he like spray painted the whole iPhone red, including the camera. Like, he didn't mask any of that out, so he just ruined the whole phone. And I was like, that's dumb. I'm when I watch tech YouTubers and when I watch tech reviews, I want to find something insightful and different. And I'm not singling out TechSmart and saying, like, he is a joke. He is the worst part of the tech industry. It's just like, I don't find it very insightful. And that's not exclusive to him. There's plenty of tech YouTubers out there that I don't think provide much insight. I think they have a lot of expensive stuff and they have a lot of money to buy things with. But when they get in front of a camera, they just kind of list tech specs at me. It's like, I didn't need someone to tell me that. I could look it up myself and save a lot of time. I just go to the website and look down. It's like, oh, there's the tech spec. A lot of people are just like, it doesn't have a headphone jack, but that's annoying. But I guess Apple is okay with switching to wireless. It's like, that's it? That's your thoughts on the subject? Like, most controversial thing about the iPhone, and you're like, okay, I guess. It's not providing much insight. It's just saying, look at this expensive thing I bought. So I'm not trying to say I absolutely hate TechSmart. I don't find much insightful tech news or like, I like to find tech YouTubers that bring up things that I didn't think about. That's what I try to do for my channel. Is like, I want to try to say things that no one else is thinking. So I try to bring up new ideas that people haven't thought about, or different perspectives on why things are okay, and like there's the possibilities or the potential of this product. So it's I can't necessarily say I hate any tech YouTuber. I'm just saying there's some I like to watch and some I don't. And TechSmart's probably one of the ones I don't, just because I don't find it that interesting. And that's okay. It's okay that other YouTubers don't watch all of your YouTubers. I'm sure most of you out there probably wouldn't find my favorite YouTubers very interesting either. But I do. We don't have to all agree on the same thing. Okay, Katie Cloudy donated, says, love your videos, man. Have been binging your videos for some time and have huge respect for your passion and informative style. Keep up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, KD. Tailosive and Everything Apple Pro are the best Apple YouTubers. Thank you. That was very generous to put me on the same level as that, but wow, okay. Let's see, what other questions do we got? What made you start doing tech videos? It was honestly lots of things at once. You know, I'd been making YouTube videos like comedy sketches on the main channel, just called Tailosive. Not tech or gaming or anything, just Tailosive. Logo's just a black T. That's the channel I started with, and I was just making action scenes and comedy sketches, and I still do make not action scenes. I still do make comedy sketches over there weekly. But originally, I was making that, no one was watching them, and I started thinking, like, well, no one's searching the word Tailosive. So I need to start making content that people are searching for. And on top of that, I was like, how could I make things that people are searching for? I still watched tech videos back then. I wasn't making them, but I watched a lot of tech videos and usually got pretty mad at them because I felt like everyone was missing the point with Apple. Every year, people would make fun of the Apple iPhone or the iPad and say why they're a joke. Android is better, and if you like Apple, then you're an idiot. And that's kind of something that made me want to get into being a more biased YouTuber, a more biased tech YouTuber, to just come out and say, look, Apple's better, and that's okay. It's okay to like Apple products, is because basically every time I get into a debate, whether it be in a chat room or in a personal conversation with an Android person who hates Apple and I'm an Apple guy who doesn't like Android, when I get in that debate, usually it comes out of their mouth. They come to the conclusion that the reason Apple is so popular, because that's one of the things I like to bring up, is like, some people like products to be designed inside and out. They don't care about customization. They just want it to work. And because iPhones sell so well and the brand loyalty to iPads, watches, MacBooks are so high, it's not because the tech specs are the greatest, and it's not because the prices are the cheapest. It's because they're made well. That's why there's so many people buying it. Usually when I bring that up, every time, whether it be in comments or in videos, it would be like, the response is that, well, it's because you're stupid. That always got to me, and that drove me mad. It's like every single time I'd be debating with an Android person, they would just say, well, it's because people who like Apple products don't know any better. They're not smart, so that's why they buy them. It's like, do you really have to result to, the reason anything is successful is because people are dumb. It's like, if they're dumb, why would they blindly choose one company? If they're dumb, why wouldn't they just choose some company at random? It's like, no, just because you like one brand or one color, like I like McDonald's. I think McDonald's tastes good. And then usually when I say that, the most common reaction is people saying, like, oh, McDonald's is gross. It's so unhealthy for you. It's awful. And it's like, obviously, everyone out there hates McDonald's, and everyone talks about how gross it is or how cheap the food is or it's terrible quality food. But it's one of the most successful food franchises in the world. They're doing something right because no one is being forced to go into McDonald's and eat there. It's like, so yeah, you can talk about how dumb it is all day, but you have to admit they did something right and they're still expanding. They're still putting up restaurants. So it's apparent that McDonald's has captured the attention of some customers and have gotten some attention for it. So in that regards, I think Apple, a Big Mac, lol, has kind of brought that idea to technology, is the idea that, look at the brand loyalty. It's unlike any other company. There's not another company out there where people will line up around a block to spend $1,000 on a computer. That doesn't happen anywhere else. You don't see people lining up to buy a car, a big car release. They do pre-orders, but it's not nearly to the extent of the amount of people who are interested in buying Apple's phones. Or their watches, or their iPads, or their MacBooks. And that's the thing, it's not just about one product. It's about all their products. How many companies can say that all of their customers, most of their customers own 2 to 3 of their product? That's very rare. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of what bothered me about the tech field in YouTube, is that it felt very biased towards Google. And whenever someone tried to say, well, I like Apple because they do this, this, and this, typically the response was, well, you're an idiot. Like, you don't know any better. And if you were smarter, then you would choose an Android, which I hated. I was like, we need someone who is articulate enough and smart enough to come out on YouTube and tell these Android fanboys why they're wrong. Because it's very biased to the Android field right now. And I think it's suitable to have a couple more Apple sheep to try to balance out this bias. No customer out there should just blindly listen to one YouTuber and say, I have to believe everything they say. It's just like the media. It's just like news. You should be following many sources. You should be watching several different tech YouTubers and making up a conclusion on your own. So I feel like when all of the outlets are biased towards Android and Google, it's not a good platform for analyzing things. Whereas if you watch someone who's kind of in the middle, more like Marquez, someone who's more to the side, like whether it be Snazzy Labs or Android Authority or whatever, and then you're watching me, now you have a vast array of people who prefer different things, and you can kind of pick out the facts that you agree with and formulate your own opinion. That's the great thing about YouTube. Anyway. Hello, Xander.
Hello.
Can I help you?
I'm just going to plug my watch. Is this charger plugged in?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
All right. There's Xander, everyone. He's just walking in here.
Hello, everyone.
We're traveling to the distant land of the Apple Store soon. That is Nick. People don't know who that is yet.
Yeah,
but
because my watch used to suck, I didn't bring my charger everywhere with me, but WatchOS 4 saves lives.
It did. WatchOS 4 cures cancer.
It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, out of habit, didn't bring my charger. So thank you for having an extra charger, Drew.
You're welcome. There's actually one over there that's not being used, but
that'd
be nice to
the update did not eliminate the Pixel.
Darn.
Yeah.
Darn.
It needed to. Anyway, someone was asking about my jet black iPhone, and it has held up well. As I've mentioned, like, yes, it scuffs. However, only in certain light. For the most part, in like most rooms, most scenarios, the scratches and scuffs are not significantly noticeable. They're only noticeable when you hide them, when you show them in direct light. And even then, it's like, I don't care. I'm not staring at the back of my phone all the time. But you're extremely biased towards Apple. Why won't you be neutral? Because I'd be lying. If I was neutral, I wouldn't be telling you my honest truth. I tell you that I love Apple. I tell you why I think Apple ecosystem is unparalleled, because I believe it. I'm living it out. If I was neutral, I wouldn't be an honest reviewer. I would bring. I'm literally basing my fact of being an Apple sheep on personal experience. You know, it's not like I've never used Android phones. It's not like I've never used Windows devices. I used a gaming PC for a year. I've used 5 to 6 Android phones now for prolonged periods of time. Not having both, excuse me, not having an iPhone in my pocket and an Android phone in my pocket. A lot of reviewers do that. I legitimately, when I tested an Android phone, put the iPhone away and did not use it. I'd swap SIMs. I'd be like, this is my phone now. And a week would go by and I'd be like, I do not like this. This isn't good. And it's not just about what you're used to. It's about what is functionally faster and more functional. Anyway, being blunt and honest better than being a liar and getting busted at some point. I wouldn't get busted for being neutral. I just don't think personally that the channel would be as interesting if I treated everything fairly. Because I would just kind of sit there and be like, the V30 has a lot of features that people enjoy and runs Android. That's cool. And the iPhone has features that people enjoy, but it's controversial. What is the better phone? It's really up to you. No. Every YouTuber does that. All these tech YouTubers try to be neutral and try to balance things out. I was like, if I want to be different, I'm just going to give you a direct answer, because I was sick of watching reviews and hearing people say, it depends. Ooh. Move goal 200%. That's cool. 2 minutes before midnight, too. 2 minutes before midnight, I hit 200% move goal. That's great. Anyway. Yeah, just be you. I'm not going to be anything else. Are you happy that Apple removed the headphone jack? Bryce, you're new, aren't you? Yes, to answer your question, yes. You should watch, you should just search, go to my channel, go to the video section, and search headphone jack, and enjoy. Watch those videos. Anyway, we're coming up on the end here of this live stream. So if you have any last-minute donations, last-minute questions, now's the time to ask. Kayla's World asks, Apple is only started to being popular in South Africa. South Africans is also very Android-focused. Love Apple. Well, that's cool. And again, like, I totally admit and agree to the fact that Android is more affordable. There's no denying that. All I'm saying is that While Android, yes, can be better for budget people, it's not a better product. That's two different things. Like saying which product is more affordable, it's always going to go to Android. There's like $5 Android phones sometimes. And if you sign up for a certain cell phone plan, sometimes you can get a free Android phone. That happens all the time. You get two free Android phones if you sign up for this cell plan. It's always going to be cheaper, and that's why I think like in different countries where wealth is not as plentiful as it is here, Android phones do a lot better because there's lots of them, and they're cheap, so they're easy to produce, and they can send them out to lots of people. So all I'm trying to say is that because something is cheaper and more affordable, and yeah, you can get a lot of a smartphone's experiences on a cheaper phone, I don't think that necessarily makes it better. Like, for instance, I drive a Hyundai Sonata. It's a very affordable car, works very nice. I love that car. And it works great for me because it has 4 wheels, pretty good mileage, pretty fast when I need it to be. Love the stereo system in there. It's great for me. That doesn't make it the best car in the world. It's a very different topic. It's like, what is the best car out there? Just because I drive one and it works for me doesn't make it the best. And whereas I think in the smartphone industry, yes, there are phones that are better for certain people. Like if you're on a budget, an Android phone can be very helpful. Like my cousin loves to be on a budget with all of his tech. Both of my cousins actually are Android users, both on different sides of the family. One cousin prefers them because he likes writing code and he likes installing his own apps on his phone. That's his prerogative. I don't see the point in that, but he likes to do it. My other cousin just loves to save money as much as possible. He's just a huge budgeter. And he enjoys just finding the best deals he can on phones. So he spends money on like trying to find a refurbished version of a cheap Android phone, and he ends up paying $99 for a pretty decent Android smartphone. But he doesn't admit that it's better than an iPhone. He just says that, well, iPhones are cool. It's just they're so expensive. I don't want to pay for that. It's too much. And depending on what your financial situation is, if you don't have that much money, totally justifiable. No harm done there. But he doesn't try to say that my phone is better than yours because it's cheaper. That's two different things there. MKBHD used the wrong Geekbench, and the iPhone 8 got 63 on multi-score when it's at 10,000. Yeah, I noticed that in his video. I feel like something Marquez may have messed up on, and I don't know if he did this intentionally or unintentionally. Sometimes I feel like Marquez will do something intentionally to make Apple look worse. And in that particular video, he showed off that the Geekbench scores for the Note 8 can be a little bit higher than the iPhone, which I don't think is true. I think maybe whether he did it intentionally or not, he didn't close all the apps on the iPhone. Like he had a bunch of other apps running and then opened Geekbench, which will actually affect the score. Like if you have apps running and you have stuff going on in the background, Geekbench score won't be as high, and I feel like he forgot to do that or intentionally did that so it would look more on par with the Note 8, because Jonathan Morrison did a Geekbench score on the iPhone 8, and it was crazy high. Way higher than the Note 8, but of course, that would make the Galaxy Note look bad. Oh, he tweeted that he got it wrong. Okay, there's your answer. I'm excited to Geekbench my iPhone 8 when I get it tomorrow. Today, it's 12:03. Guys, today is the iPhone 8 day. An Apple Watch Series 3 day. That's exciting. I don't need to look at his Twitter. You're all telling me that he said he did it wrong. It's fine. The numbers don't match up with John's. What's wrong? Relax. He screwed up. He's fine. He's fine. I don't think Apple will ever put USB-C on the iPhone because they're so close to removing ports in general. It would make no sense to change it at the last minute. They're just going to switch to all wireless. Is it worth getting AirPower for just an Apple Watch and AirPods? Yes. AirPower is awesome. Because someday, if you do have a wireless charger, it'll work with that. A wireless charging phone, it'll work with that. Also, AirPower is just awesome. It looks great. I don't know how much it is, and we don't know when it's coming out. So it's kind of hard to say, is it worth it? It's like, well, is it $70 or is it $200? We don't know. Anyway, guys, it's getting late. It's later in the evening. However, if you feel like your questions was not being answered, I'd like to announce that Tailosive Gaming, will you guys be going live soon?
Yeah.
Or have you given up on that?
No, I'll go live.
Okay, so if you're not subscribed on Tailosive Gaming, We're going to have a live stream right after this one. I'm probably going to get some rest, so I'm not sure if I'll be joined on that. But Xander here
I'll be here.
is a fellow Apple Sheep, so if you have tech questions, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them, but he'll also be playing a game, so keep that in mind as well. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe to Gaming, Talks, Music, the whole shebang. There's going to be lots of content. But hopefully by the next live stream, I'll have an iPhone 8. Thank you for all your donation, guys. Really appreciate it. This is your Apple Sheep here, and
This is Land of Whispers.
we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
And Nick.
Nick!
Get out.